This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
The Trundle! What a goal! It's absolutely world class from Marcus Trundle!
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box. Tries to screw him. Is it going to be there? Yes! Oh my word!
The Wednesday week. Boom, boom. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Wednesday week. This week, the greatest escape. Hey, and tonight I'm joined by Stevie, Holly, and Simon. We're all as positive as can be, while Dan's gone over to Tunisia to get his teeth done again. So, how are we, everybody?
Great.
Got to be happy, haven't we? We've got to be happy.
Not bad, thanks. Not bad.
Not bad. Oh, fantastic. Well, here we go. We've done it. Well, not we. That's the royal we. The lads have done it. The team's done it. The club's done it. We've stayed up. We are Championship Owls for another season. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah.
Not sunk in yet. It's genuinely not sunk in yet.
No?
I never doubted him. You all said that it would after Huddersfield. I never doubted them. I would never slag these boys off. How amazing. I can't believe we did it.
I'll just get the WhatsApp group and just go through it. Scroll through, Ollie.
Don't go looking back to any of these old podcasts either.
Yeah.
If you want me.
It's I will not bring up the WhatsApp from last season. Everyone's heard it a million times. They're all shit. I
don't want me either. I love them all.
Which is now my ringtone. I quite like it. So going into Sunderland, just needing 1 point, but obviously all the other teams. And hey, I thought all the other teams were going to probably lose, and that proved me wrong, didn't it? So we had to go into Sunderland just wanting 1 point. But Danny Roll did say he wanted 9 points out of the last 3 games. So, and he's going with all intentions to win. So, Simon, Holly, you were the representatives for the podcast up at Sunderland. I'll start with ladies first. Simon, how did you? How are you feeling driving up to Sunderland, mate?
I think you said a while ago, shaking like a pooing dog. I think the words were, weren't they, Ashley?
Yes.
And I have taken that on, and I think we need to have it as a tat T-shirt too. It was, I don't know, it was a strange old journey. Me and the boy went. I did actually think we were going to turn them over. I never thought the other results would have gone as they did, but I thought we'd done the hardest games in regards to Blackburn and West Brom. Thought Sunderland, although we've not particularly had happy travels over there in the last 18 months, have we really? Playoff semis and that wonderful game sandwiched between Christmas and New Year where I think we lost 5-0. Yeah. So, I don't know. You had to be positive, didn't you, mate? That was the only way we had to go into it. It's positive like the team did.
Holly, how did you feel getting up? I know how you did in reality. I know exactly how you felt going up to Sunderland. But about the football, how did you feel?
So I decided to go out and see my friends on Friday for a quiet few drinks, and then left Liam, who were giving me a lift, a voice note at 3 a.m. singing to him that I didn't know what time he was picking me up, and he replied a couple of hours later saying 8:30. So. Just enough time to get my PJs on and then get back ready to go to Sunderland. So, I had the beer fear combined with the SWFC fear. It was not a good morning for me. It was not a good morning for me. But I feel like anyone who says they were positive before the game, that's because you know it's already happened, and that's you saying it now. Nobody who has watched Wednesday, even though last week we said there's only one permutation that means we can go down. If any club can find that way, it's this one. So I don't think anyone were positive about it. I think everybody were absolutely crapping it, to be honest. How were you? What did you think, Ash?
I was very much shaking like the proverbial dog. Unfortunately, I was at home. I would love to have gone to the game, but other things I had planned. So I was at home. I watched it. So run up to the game. Yes, I was. I'm not going to lie. I was definitely bricking it. And the 1 out of 27 permutation that could have happened very nearly did, because of other things that happened at other stadiums. But, hey, Stevie, how you were cool as a cucumber. You were cooler than Jack Hunt taking a penalty in a playoff, weren't you?
I felt all right, to be fair. I think I had a moment Saturday morning. I think I put on the chat. I had a moment Saturday morning where I was a little bit apprehensive.
Did
joking
you
aside,
think it was a must-win game, Stevie?
No. I think
that's gonna haunt you. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. I think.
Yeah. I never said. Look, I stand by what I said. They weren't must win until we got to the end. I think, with hindsight, the must-win game was obviously Blackburn, wasn't it? West Brom, Blackburn. We'd done the work. Although there was still the possibility the work was done. In the 2 games previously, with the outstanding performances that we put in away at Blackburn and then at home against West Brom. I think from my perspective, there was just that Wednesday of it all, as Holly's just alluded to, that was it 1 out of 27 different permutations, you said? Was that right? Is it 1 out of 27
something
things
like
that could happen?
Someone a lot cleverer than me came up with that earlier in the week.
It was the most it would have been the most Sheffield Wednesday thing in the world for that one thing out of 27 to have happened. So, for us that were nervous, we were nervous because we know what this club's like and what it's done to us in the past and what it will do to us again in the future. But credit to the lads. We've been on a phenomenal run. We've taken some hits in the last couple of months, but we've done a lot of legwork, and you don't really you don't take stock until after the fact. But if you look at the run that we've been on in terms of the games that we've lost, and I think I've overheard somebody saying just off air, is it 3 out of 14 we've lost or something like that in the run? That's ridiculous form. And all the things that you look at and everything that, I'm getting ahead of myself, everything that you look at in terms of the Sky Bet accounts that are dropping on, and these second tier podcasts and all this, and we've gone on this run, we've gone on that run.
Don't give them a shout out, Steve.
Well, a minor miracle, by the way, but that's another story. It's an absolute. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And I think joking aside, I think the work was done probably before Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There were a point in that West Brom game where they had a shot and it hit their own player on the back of the head. That never happens in our favour ever. And at that point, I thought, do you know what? It actually stuff might drop for us this time. Normally, that's us that it's his own player and then it all goes to crap.
Yeah.
But it actually went for us that and I thought, do you know what? Maybe something's going to drop.
Well, when obviously it was a 12:30 kickoff, we all know that, and 11:30 came round, and like everyone, don't you look for the team? I've got the because I've had a spare 5 minutes. I've got the lineup here. So for everyone that knows, you got Beadle starting in goal, Valentin, Palmer, Bernard, Iorfa, Johnson, Volks, Bannon, Windass, Masaba, and EK Ugbo. Now, that was an unchanged team from the West Brom game, which surprised me a little bit. I don't know how. I mean, I think we've made comments on the starting lineup before, and we've said basically we trust what Danny does, and in the last 10 games, he's got it hell of a lot right with changing a couple of people around. So how do you think to seeing the starting lineup? Simon, I'll start with you, mate.
I was absolutely fine with it. It's what we played against West Brom previous game. I had no issue with it. They teased us a little bit, haven't they, with Pervader in the sort of training videos, and there's one where they were showing somebody training, his head popped up, and I was surprised he wasn't on the bench, but obviously Danny didn't feel he was fit enough to play. So I was more than happy with it. I thought we accounted so well over the last couple of games, mate, that, Danny could play 11 grandmas and I'd support him because he just seems to know how to motivate a team, to coach a team. And yeah, it was bang right for me. It was no surprises at all.
Stevie? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Holly. Go on, Holly. Sorry.
It's what I thought, really. It would have been nice if we're not going to get Pavida again. It would have been nice to see him, and but yeah, it's what I thought.
Stevie, how did you think about the starting lineup? I mean, it was the same, and we won against West Brom 3-0. So you don't change a winning team, do you?
No, absolutely not. No complaints with the lineup. I think when you like you've just said, when you put in the performances that you have against Blackburn and the performance that you did against West Brom, you talk about players earning the shirt, and you're looking at the bench and what was available. I don't think there was anybody there that you potentially say, right, who are you going to drop out for those players that are going to come in? And I think there's a very short list of players that we've got that we'd say, right, he's indispensable, and he has to be involved regardless. And I don't think there was anybody on the bench on Saturday that fitted that mould. I agree with Holly and Si. It would have been nice having had that little teaser Pavida, and I'd heard a couple of sort of knock-ins that he might have been in and around for being on the bench for Sunderland. Thankfully, we didn't need him. We didn't miss him. It is quite sad that we're not going to get that last sort of hurrah with him, because he's been an absolute credit, and had he stayed fit throughout his loan period, I think genuinely think there'd been an argument and a conversation for him being in and around the Player of the Year. I think he's been that good in the little cameos that we've seen, and if he'd have sustained that over a period of time, regardless of how many games or how short the period of time had been, for the games that he would have been involved in, I think he'd have been up there. But no arguments from me from a team selection point of view.
Let's get into it in Sunderland. It's like Simon said, it's not been a happy hunting ground for other quite important games for Sheffield Wednesday. But if you went on social media and looked at some of their comments from Sunderland fans, it was like they were in the relegation battle with us. They'd not won. I think they'd won 1 in 10. I think it was, and they were really struggling. So to hear them saying we've already got the 3 points, it was quite refreshing from a team that were obviously already on the beach but struggling.
There were a couple of that. I think they're one of them teams that have benefited from the season ending when it has, which I'm sure we'll look at the table later, but they're not that far off of it, are they? And their fans were really, really down. Really credit to Sunderland fans though, because before and after the game they were absolutely brilliant, except when they were shouting, "Give us your manager."
No. Right, so we started really well. I know Sunderland had, but I'm going to let the fourth person who's guesting me, Molly, who's just behind Steve. She can have the first word on this. Liam Palmer, what do you reckon, Molly?
Just Liam Palmer. He's the best player we probably ever signed. He's the best player we will probably ever sign, and he's just amazing.
How much pocket money has he given you to say that?
20 quid.
So, I mean, first goal, always important. And I think looking at the replays and the highlights and stuff, it was a bit cagey. Did it feel like that, Simon, in the first 20, well, what was it, 28 minutes? I think Palm's got on 29.
I think we came out of the blocks fairly quickly and pressed them for quite some time in the first 10, 15. Sunderland had space, but it really seemed to me that we were the better team, certainly for the first 15. I thought Palmer and Pole were superb on the right-hand side. I thought that their interlinking play, it was almost reminiscent of Worthington and Kingy at points from the 90s. Those are old enough to remember. Poll, I thought, was outstanding. And Palmer's role at that right wing back, sort of right wing back role, is his best role playing for Wednesday. And they linked up so well for that first goal, and in a way for the second goal as well. Now, we were the better team. I thought Sunderland were a shadow of that team we played at Hillsborough back last year. I mean, they beat us 2-0, and I think they sort of took the foot off the gas in the second half, didn't they, when they played at Hillsborough? And because I think they felt embarrassed that they could probably beat us 6-7-0. You know, what a difference in a team compared to who we played on Saturday. Unbelievable, really.
I think they did have some chances. They got into some really good positions, but they just were all the last bit was they were all off target, weren't they? They were really injuries.
I mean, where the away end is, we're up in the gods, aren't we? I saw Holly walking in as we were already taking our seats, and there were a lot of steps. The shots were just, I mean, they'd had a number of shots, but I don't know how many. I'm sure you'll share the stats, but there were so many off target. It was
horrendously off target.
Yeah, horrendously off target.
They had 18 shots. I just saw it earlier. I haven't got the stat. 18 shots, 12 off target. I think three. I've got it, man.
I've got it. Do you want me to do the whole stats?
Yeah, go on then.
Possession, they had 64.5%. We had 35.5. They had 18 shots to our 12. 3 of theirs were on target. We had 2 on target. 9 of theirs were off target. They had 6 block shots, 6 corners. We had 5 of each. Touches in the box. By the way, BBC have updated their stats, haven't they? The touches in the box, 32 to Sunderland versus our 15. Beadle made 3 saves. Their keeper didn't make any. But to testament to the job that our back 3 did in terms of aerial duels that were won, they won 5, we won 9. So whilst we scored the goals, we also defended really, really well. So
and that's been a sign over the last few games, though, that defending. I think that Bernard coming back, I was always a bit worried about Iorfa being in the centre, the back 3. And then Palmer slotted in at the right centre back has been great. Much prefer him there than in the middle. I don't know why anyone thought he were a centre midfielder. I really don't. But I think he's gone back to right centre back and fitted in perfectly. So
he can do whatever he wants, that kid.
Yeah.
I agree about Iorfa. I mean, I never liked him as that right back, right wing back, but it really suits him in that position alongside Dishon. He's superb. But they had a goal disallowed? Was that before we scored, or was that?
Yeah, that was before. So they had a header. I have tried to look, but the replays, what I've seen is it's not conclusive. I'm sure they'll reckon it was onside.
Spot on, definitely offside.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
offside. It was offside. There is an angle that was replayed, and you can see that he's offside. It was the right call. It was lucky. It was a lucky call or fortuitous on our part, because
it was on his own,
ironically, I think it was Iorfa that was in a little bit of no man's land, and the ball's gone over his head. Got caught a yard to the right of where he needed to be, and there was a little bit of holding with 2 other players, but it was definitely offside. And you can argue. I think at the time they sort of said we've got away with one there, but if you look at it from a defensive point of view, if we've held our line in the right way to catch somebody offside, then that's not bad defensive work, is it?
No, not at all. It's what you're coaching for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a comment from Craig here. Just going back to the first goal. What a ball from Baz for that goal, by the way.
That goal could be the goal of the season. The whole build-up, not just that pass, but all of it. I've watched it so many times and I've not got bored of it. It is the goal of the season. And that ball from Basler.
If Ipswich hadn't scored theirs, that has basically got the, if you listen to Ipswich fans, it's got the Puskas Award, but it was a cracking finish by the Burns, weren't it? Outside of his foot. It would be up there. Team goal of the season. Yeah, totally right. I mean, it was like Palmer started it all off as well.
Yeah.
On the right hand side.
Palmer and Paul on that right hand side were just they couldn't cope with him.
And then like I said, the touch from Bannon, that for me, I know you get all comments on here and everything, but we haven't seen enough of them from him. For me, obviously his stats, I think he's got 3 assists and 1 goal all season, so he's playing the balls and everything, no doubt. But it was instinctive first time, weren't it?
Yeah, it's not even just that, for Palmer to carry on his run the way that he does, knowing that Bannon's going to do that. Every bit of it is just fantastic.
From a right centre back, because that's where he was at that time, weren't it?
Yeah.
So it's a thing. What do you think to the Palmer goal, Stevie? I'm just giving people what they want to. They know you love him. They know you love him. So come on, Stevie, just indulge everybody for 30 seconds.
You love him more than you love me.
Molly's just said you love him more than you love me.
Have a picture there. He's been. He's been having a Palmer picture up there, and he's claimed that it's not dry, but that was about 5 months ago. So I've stole it back. Crazy.
Anyway, is it your bedtime?
Yeah. Just before you go, Molly, if you go in, just how many pictures are in his office of the girls?
Girls?
Yeah, you have got none.
One. Yeah.
I've got one. One. Yeah. I joking aside, I thought the goal as a team goal was absolutely outstanding, and I think TW Football went early, didn't they? With they couldn't release the analysis because it wasn't available on their platform or whatever it is that they use. But I think I've not gone back to revisit it. I'd seen something where they said it was however many passes, and we kept possession of the ball for like 58 seconds or 50 seconds, whatever it may have been. The way that we have taken possession, kept possession, and just passed the ball about, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. And from a personal point of view, as somebody who is such a fanboy of the guy, it was great to see that a guy who is, very much maligned, and we could do a whole podcast on my opinion of why people are a little bit down on him, and it being his past performances, his past seasons. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I genuinely think there's a place for Liam Palmer in our squad going forwards next season. I don't care how old he is. I don't care, what people think of him playing in certain positions. The guy's an absolute utility, and the fact that he's gone in over people like Bambo, and he went in over. He's been in over Iorfa in the last couple of games, and with due respect, I don't think he's done a great deal wrong. He just doesn't get the credit that he deserves for the things that he does, because people get hung up on the thing. He's not the perfect player. There were a couple of times on Saturday. There was one where he's tried to hook one with the outside of his foot, and it's gone out of play. And I just thought that's the kind of thing that he does that people are going to absolutely hammer him for. But for him to be able to find himself in those situations and that position, I was absolutely delighted. I thought it was a great goal. If Man City score a goal like that, we wax lyrical about De Bruyne, and we wax lyrical about Haaland, Silva, whatever players that have been there and done it. It was that sort of goal in terms of the quality of it. But because we're Wednesday, we don't recognise it.
The thing is with Palmer, he has got something that money can't buy. Like because of his connection with the club. Is it a coincidence that last day for both, like the Peterborough game and then this one, is it a coincidence that he's brought the goods on the deck when we needed it, or is it because he's got there's 100% and then there's the extra bit that you can't buy that Palmer's got that he's willing to put in?
You'll always get that from him, won't you? Because he's a Wednesdayite. You can see that when he scores. And you're absolutely right, Holly. He's for me. He's never less than a 7 for me. Never less than a 7 out of 10, and he's always been never less than a 7. So when he goes to an 8 and 9, it's actually, to be honest, comparable to one of the other players. It's actually 11 and 12 out of 10. It's that 11 on the. It's just 11, 12 because he is so committed to the cause. And you see that, and he's done it at Stoke, he's done it at West Brom, and at Sunderland, and he seems to have found his place is that position which he played. And I'll wax lyrical about him and Paul. If we keep Palmer for next season, him and Paul on that right wing will be the equivalent to what we had with Worthington and Kingy in the 90s.
I think the other thing, just to add on that side, and is, for all the negativity that he's had, and there is a core within the fan base that will say he's not, he's not to the standard, and we'd get rid of him, we'd release him, he needs to go, he's not good enough, and blah blah blah. The reality is, he's come back. Let's be, when was he at Tranmere? Early 2010s, wasn't it? But he's gone through Gray, he's gone through Cavill, he's gone through Lukai, he's gone through, every manager that has come in. There's been a core of people that have said he's not up to it, and there's been a core of people that have gone, right, we're going to leave him out. And there have been times where he has been left out. He wasn't part of Chisco's plans at the start of the season. He wasn't necessarily part of Danny Rule's plans, but he's forced his way back in with the way that he plays. And I would argue that there's probably behind the scenes, there'll be a situation where he is the hardest working player in training. He is the most disciplined. He's the guy that looks after himself the most. He's the guy that will go above and beyond to get to the standard that he needs to, because he's not Barry Bannon and he's not Josh Windass. He's not that ilk of player. He's just a guy, close your ears, who works fucking hard. Yeah. And
absolutely right. 100%.
Yeah, and I think he deserved his goal. And every time he has scored, you do see it. It means the world to him. And that's what you want, innit? Because I think, was it last season? I think Windass, he said he'd never celebrate in League One. Well, obviously he did in the playoff final pretty well, but he did say that. But for a player like Palmer, who he's playing for his club, and just every time he scores, or even when someone else scores, I've noticed on a couple of the inside match days. I think it was Smith when he equalised against Norwich. I think Palmer was the one who went in front of the Kop. Like, they'd all celebrated, and he was the one at the front giving it some. So yeah, I mean, he deserves it. He deserved it. But I mean, so that's 1-0. So everything's going well. Holly, I don't know what the signal was like for data or anything like that, but were you checking your phone?
So
around you checking your phone? Because I tell you what, I was sat at home refreshing every minute.
So I signed up to the Sunderland Wi-Fi, and I honestly counted down the minutes from after that first goal, and I was literally just refreshing it, and it was like all of the people behind me were like crowded around looking at it, and we were just refreshing it over and over and over. Nothing seemed to happen for ages in the other games, and we're going, is it actually refreshing? And so yeah, I turned into the worst person to stand next to, and I literally we've only got an hour left to go, or whatever. Literally counting down every single minute.
I tell you, it was saying we're looking, and it was like 0-0, 0-0, and then we were like 1-0 up, and it's like it's going our way. But I mean, dreams, you would have said another goal before half time, and we got what we wanted. And the man who's probably been the most thing for Sheffield Wednesday in the last few weeks is Josh Windass for quite a few reasons. I mean, his goal scorer, he was out injured. Obviously, we'll come on to the video that he's put out today, which is a work of art, I've got to say. But he come up with the goods again. He scored against West Brom. He scored against Blackburn, and he obviously got 3-3. Sunderland on Saturday. So what did you make to the goal, Simon? Did you think it was coming when it should have done? Because I felt we for all them having all the shots, I thought we were quite good.
Again, I'll go back to Palmer and Paul on the right wing again.
Windass, please. Windass, please.
But it was down to them who actually, they made the goal. Paul had got their left back in his back pocket. I mean, he was a big lad, and Paul would outmuscled him, because Paul's not exactly the biggest lad in the world, is he? And it was just a great, well-taken goal, a great ball into the box, and Windass finishing there. Windass has come up with the goods, hasn't he? Since we were a little bit critical of him, I think, at the QPR game and the Norwich game. He'd obviously just come back from injury, but obviously we'll talk about his mini documentary in a bit. But by all accounts, Danny had a few little words with him, and he's come up with the goods. And I mean, really, that goal against Blackburn, what a best way to kick off then scoring 2 more in the following 2 games. Yeah, and that sort of then you could feel almost a sigh of relief go across the 2,500 Wednesday fans when that went in. Until hang on, Holly, up until the second half when we started seeing the scores from other games.
Do you know what though? I think for a neutral watching it, it was never really in any doubt, was it? But for a Wednesday fan watching it, it was absolutely horrendous, and every minute was an hour. But it was another great goal. If they could do that, why could they not just have done that ages ago?
It was. I mean, for me, I thought. I've watched it a couple of times, and it's like, does he scuff it? Does he mean it? Do you know what I mean? It's a scruff. It's not a clean finish, is it? It's like it's into the ground and it's gone up. It's like, I think, Stevie, what do you think to Windass goal? Because he is in fine form and his contract's up and everything. So he is under a bit of pressure, I think, Windass. Or he was.
He was just the right player. He's a big time player, isn't he? And this is the thing. You can argue about his impact on the game, and I think the thing that sort of hamstrings him a little bit is that there are times where he can be quite passive, I suppose would be the best way of describing it. He doesn't affect the game as consistently as certain other players. You know, Bannon's always seeking the ball. Bannon's always looking to get on it and have an impact and do things. But Windass has proven time and again over the last, I suppose, 2 years that he's the right person in the right place at the right time. And you know, you have to. There are times where you can make allowances for players like that if they are going to go and score the goals. And he's that guy who, you know, has proven when push comes to shove, he's the person that you'd want in those sort of situations. Was it a phenomenal goal? No. Was it an important goal? Absolutely. And the guy just seems to score important goals. I thought for what he did and what he was, you know, there were other times within the game, there were other sort of phases and situations where I thought he was quite impactful. I think it was him that put the ball in the first place for Masava's effort earlier on at 0-0, where he's trying to get in on the back stick. You know, he's just that guy that seems to be in the right place there. You know, and when it does matter, you know, he comes in and he is the guy that affects things. He's scored more goals than players that we've talked about in those sort of situations. You know, I think you've talked about Bannon having 1 goal and 3 assists. I'm a massive Barry Bannon fan, but when push comes to shove, you've got Windass that's done it more consistently this season and in bigger occasions.
Totally agree. Yeah, he had a good chance earlier on before his goal. I think, did he like stick his foot out, lobbed it over at keeper, and then it was a tight angle and it just shot through.
There was one. There's one at a tight angle. Remember that one? Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I've never been a Windass fan until the last 18 months. I think his injuries have hampered him, but I think I totally agree with you, Stevie. I think he's a big game player, and I don't think
Sorry, mate. I was just going to say that's a big thing. You know, when you talk about these big time players, that's a big. It's a big sort of burden that you have to carry, isn't it? It's a thing where, you know, certain people will rise to the pressure and certain people won't. And I think the thing with Windass is, he's an in and out sort of player in terms of the fact that, as I've just said, he doesn't necessarily impact the game consistently, but at the same time he's got that waddle body language, as in he slouches about and it looks like he's not bothered, and people will say that looking at him, he might seem a little bit lazy and he's not bothered. You know, we've got the whole social media profile and presence that he's got with some of the things that he has said and done in the past. And he's, you know, people will sort of take his attitude as being a certain kind of way that might have people thinking that he thinks he's a bit above his station. But the reality is, you know, if you look at the celebration against West Brom, wasn't it? The goal against Blackburn, the way that he celebrated, and as we've said, the documentary that we'll come on to, I have no doubt in my mind that this guy loves playing for Sheffield Wednesday. He loves being part of the setup. He's not, I might be wrong, I don't think he's playing for a contract. I think he's playing because he wants to stay at Sheffield Wednesday Football Club and be involved with the setup that we've got. And if everything falls into place as we all hope he will be a huge part of that.
Yeah, I think with him, he was, I know you could take it for granted, but he was banging the badge, kissing the badge after his goal on Saturday. And I think he had the celebration with Blackburn when he's going like that. So obviously that meant, like he was saying about social media, I guess, about social media. The West Brom taking his shirt off, get a yellow card for that all day long, don't you? But and he's there. And the last 4 games, was it? Something that he's been instrumental. And we've seen, obviously, that Danny Rule has asked him to play a big part, and he's stepped up and done it. So, yeah, for me, he is a big-time player. And for what you said, Stevie, about him perceived to be but being a bit lackadaisical, like just not eye-catchingly in the game, where you have got other players that running around, putting themselves about and things like that. And I think he's been cracking, and I think he's going to be a miss if he goes. But I'm on the camp that he's going to sign. He's on him.
Yeah.
I agree. Half time comes, then obviously we're going into the second half, and for me the second half it was a job done. I think it was 2-0. I don't think Sunderland had the fight to bother coming back into it. So were you happy the way that they attacked the second half, Sunderland?
I will never think that it's safe until we've got like 7 goals. So I still refreshed. The time that I stopped refreshing everyone else's scores was literally the 93rd minute, because I just could not. I couldn't let it lie, even though it was up to us, really. But we did make some changes. I don't know what time the subs came on. And we went a bit more defensively, didn't we? And I don't like that at all. That is not my bag at all. Don't try and defend it when everyone else is winning. I don't know. You'll know what time the subs came on. I don't know.
I don't actually. I've relaxed in my preparation. I do apologise.
We brought Bambo on 64 with Pato for Windass and Paul. We brought Smith and McGassama on at 77, and then we brought Ihekwe on at 90. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
I know Simon mentioned it a lot, but that defender on Paul's side probably felt like it was his birthday when he got subbed off.
Oh my God.
And that just changed the element of the game then, didn't it? Absolutely, Holly. We did go defensive, put Palmer up into midfield, and it just changed the nature of the game. And I think at that point we all knew that everybody else was winning as well. And Sunderland had spells in the centre of the park, as you said about the possession. They seemed to have a lot of possession, but they huffed and puffed, didn't really create a lot. But that didn't help the heart and the nerves up in the away end, because, as I say, we were looking at it, and I didn't have Ethan had gone on to Wi-Fi like yourself, Ollie, and we were like, he kept saying, "Oh, they're winning," and then we started going. The bounce song started, and Ethan said, "You're going to bounce, Dad?" And I went, "No, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything until that final whistle goes. I'm not celebrating or anything, because exactly." I've been there. I've seen what's happened. So we started bouncing, and I ain't doing it, pal, until that whistle goes to the referee's mouth and he blows it final whistle. So we did go a little bit defensive, but I thought also we had times with Pato and Smith where we went sort of long ball, and we did sort of Smith put himself about, and we kept the ball down their end. So really, even though I was having palpitations, there wasn't a great deal to worry about.
On that, we Scotch 24 did ask a question earlier. Was I bouncing? No, I wasn't, but I was very happy at the final result. I was at home, so
Positive as he gets.
yeah, that's about as positive as I get. And
Molly's just back now. There he is, the boss. The boss is here.
He's come round from his anaesthetic. Boss is on. He says, Ash has no bounce. So there we are then.
He predicted the future.
Right. Full-time whistle. What was the atmosphere like in that stand? Please, me and Steve, apologies this bit because I've got FOMO as much as you, no doubt. I proper missed out on this one. Holly, Simon, just for anyone that's tuning in, listening, what was that atmosphere like on that?
Go on, Hol.
Ladies first.
Do you know what? I am so exhausted of this season and the tension all the way through. Like, to say it's been a roller coaster there's not really. It'd be the worst roller coaster you've ever been on. So I feel like I just felt exhausted and relieved that it was over, and everybody was sort of looking around like, we actually did it. I don't think at any point I actually had thought that it was gonna happen, and then it did, and then we actually did it. There were a lot of fancy dress people singing the tequila song. There was every song you've ever heard.
There was a guy next to me. He must have been in his late 50s, early 60s. And when Palmer scored the first goal, he burst into tears. And then when Josh scored the second goal, he burst into tears. And then final whistle, I burst into tears. I don't mind putting my hands up because I tell you, I thought we were Stoke game. I thought that was us done after the Stoke game at home. And I really felt that 1-1 draw, that was us done. And there was we couldn't no longer do any more. And it felt comparable to me, although there wasn't another 40,000, 50,000 people there. It felt comparable to the playoff final. It was the celebrations that were going on. It was pretty amazing because we've gone from this team who were so far adrift in October last year to actually finish only 3 points off the team that we'd just beaten. Who comprehensively.
There's been so many times that it's been over. Yeah. I'd already accepted it in October. I'd accepted it. That Millwall game in November, 4-0, was absolutely horrendous. At Christmas, I'd accepted it. The Huddersfield game was just the worst thing ever. Like you say, the Stoke game, there's been so many times you've gone, just get it over with. I can't cope anymore. And we kept clawing ourselves back. And then we'd have the Ipswich game as well. You just thought, we've been embarrassed again. That I never thought that we'd actually do it. And we actually fucking did it!
And that is exactly how everybody felt after the game. Pretty much.
I bet everyone that stayed up in Sunderland or went to Newcastle, I'm sure they had a really good time. And then the guys that met the team after in Sheffield have seen some of the videos. Fantastic. Simon, anyway, sorry, I'm just going to say, Simon, your favourite player must have been hearing you because say hello. Paul's tuned in. Evening, Paul, mate. How are we doing? We are fantastic, mate. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed your first season in England. And see, your biggest fans here, the one with the grey hair. So if you've not seen, you, Simon. So there we are. Yeah, Paul, it's nice to have. I did ask Josh if he wanted to come on for 10 minutes.
I saw that.
Tried to bribe him with some rich teas, but he weren't having it. I'm sure he's busy. He's probably jetted off already on his holidays. So, right. So that's Sunderland.
I just said that we were all relieved when the final whistle went. All the players just sank to their knees, but also they all went and just sat in front of the away end while everybody just sang and Simon cried. And they just sat there.
that was something. Apparently, it's a German thing. I asked the other day of what that's come from. It's a German thing, and they just all sort of sat and took in
for ages.
Yeah, and it was ages. And while we all sort of parted, and I wiped the tears from my grey eyelashes, it was amazing. And then all of a sudden was it Bannon was the first one? They all sprung up and started bouncing. And then
And
Wolves did the worm.
Party atmosphere.
Oh, it was amazing.
The guy on iFollow said that because the Sunderland were doing a lap of appreciation, but I'm sure there were only about 5 people left, saying that they had to force the Wednesday players off the pitch because the Sunderland players had to come out for a walk round and a clap, and all Wednesday obviously didn't want to move, did they? So we did do it. You're right, Holly. We did do it. You're right. We're still in the Championship. So I got posed a question on the group chat by Stevie, so he's going to be the one that's going to be answering it first. And we've got a bit of time here. So, Stevie, you posed this, so I'm going to ask it you first. So, what's the greater achievement? Last season coming up, or this season staying up? What you pose it, Stevie. What's your thoughts, mate? There's a reason you've asked this, and I think I know your answer. But go on.
It has to be this season. I think this season we've exceeded, given where we were in October, and I know you guys off air were just looking at where we started when Danny Rule came in. I think it was game week 12.
Yes.
We have made the worst start in Championship history. 3 wins, 3 points out of 39 possible. To get to even being in a conversation, and I've said, you can go back and check, I've said on this podcast, sort of October, November time, you could see the little sort of shoots of something coming with Danny earlier on, sort of mid to late November, and I can distinctly remember having arguments on and offline with Blair about how things weren't necessarily done and dusted, and the genesis of the whole it's must win versus it's not must win is because my argument was always, if we could get to Easter and be in the conversation, and we get through the Christmas period and the January transfer window and be in with an opportunity to sort of get us out there, then it's doable. But it took a hell of a long time to get to where we got to. And if you look back with hindsight, and January transfer window wasn't the January transfer window we'd hoped for. We were expecting wholesale change. We were expecting people to be moved on. The vibe from the club was he'd not got what he wanted when he wanted it. We went right to the last minute to get Pervader in. Pedersen seemed like a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to not having other players coming over the line, sort of thing. And there felt like there was a situation with Marv and Ipswich and one or two other things that were going on where it might have been the case that we weren't in a situation we thought we might be, or we were going to be once Danny had that first transfer window. And with everything that's gone on behind the scenes, and the fact that there was an expectation, we were a big club last year in League One, and to be where we are starting, the Championship and everything that was said pre-season, and it was a bit of a shit show. And to get to where we are now, having gone through everything that we've gone through, I just think it's. And we've called tonight's episode The Greatest Escape. I think that's absolutely, it's bang on the money in terms of where we are, in terms of, the achievements that have happened and the things that we've done. And I'm sure that there are things that are going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. And, they will come to pass in the next couple of weeks. But for right now, we're enjoying it. And I just think it's one of the greatest achievements that I can remember experiencing as a Wednesday fan. To be where we were, going forwards, to be where we are, I think is absolutely brilliant.
Simon, you've got 10 seconds since Stevie just took all your time.
Yay!
Staying up is a far greater achievement than last year, because last year we actually nearly threw it away. We were the team that should have gone automatically, and we didn't. This season, and I'm glad it hasn't been spread all over the radio and the news, etc., in regards to we've actually done something that no other team's done, because it just keeps our managers slightly under the radar. We saw it. I think we saw it at Watford. I allude to what you were saying there, Steve. When we all went to, 3 of us went to Watford, didn't we? And I think it was Danny's first or second game, and we could see then, even though we lost, green shoots, slowly green shoots compared to what we'd seen before.
I think he was only there. I think he was there Tuesday. I think he got there Tuesday, and we went Saturday. He must have had 2 training sessions, if that.
Yeah.
And it might have been a placebo thing where you're wishing, don't you? But yeah, I totally agree, Simon. I thought Watford was vastly improved, and we lost to a cracking goal by that young Spreer.
Yeah. And then you look at he has basically set a task after Stoke, and he said it publicly, didn't he? We have to win the next 3 games, and we did.
Yeah.
Game done, finished. That's what we had to do, stay up, and we've done it. So this season, far more, and that's why I'm more than happy celebrating it. And anybody can turn us down, turn the noses up about us celebrating staying up. And you know what? Boo-hoo to you, because I will celebrate all day long for what we've achieved this season.
Holly, last season or this season, what's your thoughts?
Similar to these guys, I think we definitely should have just gone up and not had to go through the turmoil of the playoffs. But this season's been like a really long version of that second leg. In the second leg, I just said, in fact, you disagreed with me, Ash, but I'll let it slide, you know. I wanted us to not be embarrassed by what we'd already done in the first part. I wanted us to just make it a respectable, even if it didn't happen, I just wanted to make it respectable. And then this season is like a really long version of that. We were that far behind. We were so far behind Huddersfield and Rotherham that I just wanted us to make it not that bad. Make it like a few points between us, even if we went down. It just needed to be respectable, so we weren't the worst team, and we weren't in that list with Rotherham and Barnsley as being the worst Championship teams. Just wanted to be respectable. And a bit like in the playoff semi-final, when Smith scored the first goal, everyone's looking at the scoreboard going, is there time left that we can still do it? That's what we've done for the last few weeks. Is there still time that we can just chip away at it? And we actually did it. So I think this probably is better. I think it's probably better.
I agree, and everyone who's commented says so. Sharman this season all day long. Mads Ward, Defo this season. Craig staying up from this shit show, the start to finish. We did amazing. Liam Henderson for me this season, not only so far behind, but the played turnaround is incredible. So I think everyone's in agreement with that. And same here. I totally agree. I loved last season. I really did. Apart from Forest Green, I loved last season. I loved it. And Barnes, yeah.
You're taking that
Forest
to the
Green. I think I am going to take that to the.
You're taking that to the grave, aren't you?
It is. He's
going to have that on your gravestone.
Forest
Green in a way.
Yeah, it was. And the way that this whole season's panned out, yeah, I totally agree. For me, this season, I think it's going to be an exceptional season for somebody else to replicate that sort of achievement. What was it? 6 points from 17 games, 1 win, and to where we are to finish comfortably outside the relegation as well. It's me. That's me.
A few more games and we'd have been in playoffs.
Well, I think if we'd have, if I know ifs, buts, maybes, and aunts, uncles, bollocks, and all that sort of stuff. If we're not drawn against Southampton and Stoke, I think we'd have finished 15th. That's mad. That's really for me. That is mad. So we saw obviously now we're into what we call I've called it's the silly season, into it already, and everything. And we've seen plenty of chats with players and Danny Rule. And I know, Stevie, you tweeted this out yesterday and got quite a bit of traction on this. But in a 6.5-7 minute interview that the manager did with Rob Staten, is it Staten or Staten? Big fan of the show he is. I'll throw that in.
Big fan of Dan Fudge.
Big fan of the boss. Yeah, he is. That you just clipped him the last minute of it, which a lot of people picked up on his comments. What did you make to them comments, Steve? I'll start with you because obviously, again, you were the one who did it, but just in as brief as you can.
I'll go quick. It just felt like the question for anybody that hasn't heard it and isn't aware, Staten asks Danny Rule if he can give any assurances as to whether or not he'll be at the club next year. And long story short, Dan, he was quite non-committal. I think he was basically alluding to the fact that there needs to be some movement behind the scenes. There needs to be some conversations that need to be had with him and Dejphon Chansiri about what Chansiri can do, what he's going to be capable of doing in terms of offering a little bit of an upgrade, if you like, in terms of the infrastructure at the club. And I think that's what I took from it. My feelings coming out of it were sort of Danny Rule sort of coming out and saying, I would be willing to stay if we can push things forwards. We can have a look at the training facilities. We can have a look at the setup behind the scenes in terms of the board, the committee. We can have a look at what we're doing in terms of developing the club going forwards, rather than just having this sort of corner cutting exercise, if you like, of trying to run a championship club as if it was a Sunday League club. And I mean that with the greatest respect to everybody that's involved, but the structure's not right at the moment. And you can see that, having had his pedigree and his experience of working with elite clubs and elite players and elite setups, we're not that. And I think he wants to be in a situation where he wants to make us that. And I think he's very shrewdly turned around and said, the ball's in your court now, Mr. Chansiri. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I think Matt Strickland's just put, Danny wants to improve the club as a whole, not just his own reputation. And I think that he comes across as that 100%. Holly, what did you make to obviously Danny? He's like Stevie says, throwing the gauntlet down to the owner to say, look, back me, or I know he's under contract as well to 2025, but that doesn't stop things happening, though, does it?
No, it depends on what your own thoughts are already. I guess he's either throwing the thing to Chansiri and saying, giving him an ultimatum and saying either invest or I'll go, or is he saying, if someone else wants to come and get me, maybe they could, or you just don't know, do you? But they're never going to commit one way or another as a manager being asked stuff like that. I think they'll just sort of say nothing. I think the kind of investment that's needed that he would want is just going to be way beyond what we could do even in the next 5 years. So I don't know, like, if he's asking for investment in like infrastructure, that's not going to happen, is it? It's not, is it? So if that, and I also think if someone did come in for him, it ain't going to take a really long conversation with literally any chairman of anything for him to go, this is not as bad. So, I don't know.
I think the thing, just on that, sorry, and I know I won't sort of hog it, but I think the thing with that is it's about whether or not he can operate a little bit more shrewdly, as in the chairman. And Danny Rule will have experience working with people that are a little bit more in the know in terms of from a footballing perspective. And can he then go to Chansiri and say, if you do this, this is an economical way of running a football club, or a better way of running a football club compared to what you've done previously? And it doesn't take a lot. And I would probably argue that there are some subtle changes that could be made that would keep Danny quite sweet. And I just think it's about, we all know, we've all heard, Chansiri's very much hands-on, and he's frightened of getting his fingers burned. And I just think if we can sort of say, look, trust me, I'm not going to hurt you. Just let me do this. I'm not going to ask for 10 million for Jordan Rhodes. But if I can have a little bit of investment here, and I can have a little bit of this there, we can make some subtle changes. We can employ somebody to help you out, at boardroom level, and we can do this, that, and the other. It will make us look more professional. It will make us look like a better outfit, and we're putting the right money and the right infrastructures in the right places, and getting after, targeting where we can get some sort of income that will work within the confines of financial fair play, or P&S, whatever you want to call it, so that we can be a little bit more shrewd, if you like, to keep him happy.
It ain't just that, is it? An investment in what Danny does, if he's successful, is an investment in whoever wants to pay compensation to us. If he does really well and somebody comes and gets him, they've got to pay for him, aren't they? So really, it's like selling a player. If he does really well and somebody wants him, then we get money for that as well. So we're investing in that regardless of whether he goes or he stays. And like, I do worry that we'll invest in a team that Danny wants, and then 3 months into next season, someone will nab him, and we'll be left with people that whoever we get next, just like, what do I do with these? Get Cisco back or whatever. I don't know, but
oh, don't swear.
But we, in theory, he could stay. We could get relegated next season and he's achieved nothing. So if someone comes in for him, he's going to back himself. You can't wait for the best club to come for you. It could go. It could go quite quickly next season. Experience means nothing at the moment for the kind of managers that people are taking off of other teams. Yeah. It's that experience don't mean out anymore. It's about how they define their own footballing brain, really.
Yeah, Simon, what were your thoughts on his comments?
You've got to go back to when we appointed Danny Rule and the fact that he's not just appointed Danny Rule, he's also appointed a management team that sit alongside him, behind him, alongside him. I know Steve and I spoke about it a while ago, I think Christmas time, the investment that the chairman has put into the management structure at the club now, which has put us up on, I think, a better level, higher level than anything we've had previously for a long, long time. We've taken on that European model, of which we've never had before, of where we've got, there's not just Chris Powell, there's the guy Sasha Lane. Yeah. All these people we've taken on, and the chairman's somebody somewhere has influenced him into taking this group of people on. Is it Danny Rule? Is it somebody external? I don't know who it is, but we've taken on this, and I'm going to mention it, this Red Bull model that a lot of these coaches have come from, and they have a particular way of coaching players, of which has meant that we have avoided relegation and we stayed up. So the chairman has invested in that. So the chairman would be stupid, and I know it's our chairman, to then throw all that away and not invest further. Now, changing the infrastructure of the club isn't something that can be done for August, is it? New training facilities and stuff like that can't be done by then. But changing the ethos of the club, or bringing people in probably to run, let the chairman sit in Thailand or come to matches and literally just sit there as the owner and not the influencer anymore. We're obviously he's going to need a transfer budget. He'll probably have in his mind, if he's staying, and I'm sure he is staying, that he's got ideas of players he wants to sign, ideas of players he wants to keep. My opinion is the chairman needs to sit back and let Danny Rule do his job. He's got the infrastructure in place. I'm not quite sure what other things Danny's going to be asking for, other than a change in ethos in the club, investment in, maybe, my opinion is, we need new training facilities, without a doubt. It's the biggest Achilles heel I think we've got, stadium aside. We've got to spend some money on some players, but I'm not talking millions and millions, because, to be honest, he's made a silk purse out of the sows here that Cisco couldn't do with the players that were signed at the start of the year. So I haven't got an issue with, he's not going to need a lot of money. So, I think it's divisive that journalists want to get a response, and our journalists always seem to go for the negatives. And it's always, are you staying? Are you staying? The guy's already spoken about pre-season. We've listened to Bannon saying, I've sat down with the manager, we're talking about a new contract. Windass is supposed to be talking about a new contract. The manager will be involved with these. This isn't a manager who's walking away from Sheffield Wednesday.
He's not going to say that he is, though, is he, Si? They've got to ask.
Well, no, he's not. But I also think that Danny Rule is a far more astute character than that. I think he is a loyal person. I've also heard interviews saying that he doesn't really want to manage in England again after this. He's got a young family who are still in Germany. So if he's going to go anywhere, he's going to go back home. So, and I think he needs to spend another year cutting his teeth in this league to put him back up to probably where he wants to be, which is Bundesliga 1.
It's just going to make for an interesting summer on and off the pitch, of course. It's and the local journalists, and they're going to have a busy old summer. Now, right, we've all seen it today. Josh Windass fancies himself as a bit of social media, little documentary maker. So if you've seen it, that he's put out to 2:00 today was a little insight into Josh Windass and his recovery from his hamstring injury and the last few games. So I'll go first. I thought it was fantastic. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I've had preconceived notions, and we spoke about it earlier, about Josh Windass. Blew them out of the water. I really did. I think getting a new insight from a supporter's point of view and us idiots talking about it every week of a player being injured and what they have to go through. And it's not just, oh, come on, do some stretches and get on the physio table. I think, Holly, you put in the group chat, or Charles, somebody put in the group chat, but I thought it was just physio table and that was it. And it's not. There's all sorts about it. But Holly, what did you make to it? Did you think did Windass come across like you thought he would?
I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet because I've been working today on a bank holiday.
Sorry.
No, I've seen in all the different Wednesday group chats I'm in that people have said that he's come across as really personable and likable, even though he is sort of puts an outward persona out, I guess. And I think also Wednesday have been stung before by people that have been injured and have been happy to accept being injured. So I think we just have that as a baseline when people are injured, that they're probably not that bothered about coming back. So it sounds to me, like I say, I haven't watched it, but it sounds to me like it shows that the other side of it, where people are getting a little bit frustrated with being injured and they want to be involved in the pitch stuff. But I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
Stevie, have you watched it, Stevie?
I've seen the first. It's 25 minutes. I've seen the first 15, and I'd concur with the consensus around how he comes across as being a better or a more personable and approachable person. He comes across as quite a humble guy. There's a lot of humility in there. He speaks really well. You can tell that he's dedicated to getting back. And this was the thing that I was saying earlier on about him in terms of his performances. I don't know if watching it this afternoon was influenced that, but you can tell that there's a real affinity for the club. There's a real affinity for being in and around the place. And a lot of the ITK stuff that you hear at times is that, there are lots of players, the bigger players are here for, money. They're on a contract. They want to get in. They want to come to Sheffield Wednesday. They want to play. They want to get paid. They want to get out. He doesn't come across like that. In it, he like I said, he was really warm, humble, nice guy. Talked really well. I thought it was a great insight, and I think coming out of it, I hope people have a more approachable opinion, if you like. And that's probably not the right thing to say, but a better feeling and opinion of Josh Windass as a person.
Yeah, Simon, your thoughts on it?
No, I thought it was really good. I agree with Steve and Holly. He's come across as a really nice guy. He loves his cups of tea, doesn't he, and his coffees. So I thought he was just come. One thing that struck me was the fact that he was talking when he was with Liam Palmer and Barry Bannon, just down the road from where I work, actually, in the Cutley Works. He was talking about the fact that his other experience at other clubs, Rangers and Wigan, is that he didn't have mates there, that they weren't friends, and the fact that that a lot of them just go for a coffee after the game, after the training. They go down to Kelham a lot. Liam Palmer said that, we go down to Kelham, we have a few coffees. He said that Padso's probably upstairs having smothered fries or something like that.
Loaded fries.
Loaded fries, that was it. And it just struck me that he almost felt to me like he feels playing for Wednesday is like he's at home. It's his home, it's his buddies. And that struck me as well when they cut to the Sunderland game and then the celebrations after. Him and Palm seemed to be really good mates.
Yeah,
and it was actually quite a good documentary to send to Chansiri and Danny Roll to say, we'd like new contracts, please.
I think we do forget, don't they? They are like late 20s, early 30s. Grown men, aren't they? Probably instead of what we do after training or a day at work, go for a pint, they go for a coffee. And it did say, says you don't have this with other clubs, it's very rare. And he said there's like 6-7 of them that go for a coffee, which as fans, it's great to hear that they have got that unity. And it has come across in the last couple of months, I think, that the team has been on the same page, working together. And it seems like they're all of them are pretty good.
Well, that's it. Like, if they want to go somewhere else, they might not find that somewhere else. You can tell there's a few of them that I was going to say this earlier when we were talking about Windass and Palmer, like being in the big games again, that you can tell that they are a unit, some of the players. And if they want to stay, if we want them, I think they will all stay. But if a couple of them want to go, I think they probably will all. Like, it's either all or nothing, I think, in it, really. It depends on what we want to do, I guess. What Danny and
that's it.
We want to do.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's nearly come to a close. That it's been an up and down season, a roller coaster, as you could say. We've seen that one going around social media a bit. Like, has anyone got any other business before we wrap this show up? Stevie, Holly, Simon. No.
Maybe just a quick one to sort of keep people in the know around what the plans are for the pod over the summer. Do you want to do that, or shall I?
Well, yeah, crack on.
Dan's just put raffle in, by the way.
For what? What we're raffling off?
We've just drawn.
Oh, no, we've just drawn. Yeah.
You want to do that first?
No, because I ain't got the details.
Okay. Keep an eye on our socials, because we've raffled off some tickets to a dinner this weekend.
Yeah, the person's notified and everything. That's all sorted.
Yeah, we'll tell people what the crack is with it all.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, keep eye on it.
Yeah. Obviously, this is the last game of the season we've just done. We are intending on sort of keeping content going over the summer. Tentatively, we are scheduling our season review show next week, if not the week after. We're trying to coincide that with any announcements around player releases, anything Danny Rule associated, things that are progressing. So there's going to be plenty of content from a sort of regular pod perspective. We've got a hell of a lot of Owls alumni that are lined up, so that's going to be regular content going over the season as well. We're looking to keep little bits, specials going in there. So, you know, we've got a summer without Sheffield Wednesday, but there won't be a summer without the Wednesday week. Obviously, people that are involved in the last man standing, that's going to keep going. I've got designs on potentially doing something around a sweepstake in the Euros, just for a bit of fun, a bit of shits and giggles in a WhatsApp chat that won't cost an arm and a leg and will help us raise much needed funds, even though we've spent it well. Much needed funds towards our community initiative. We want to keep that going. We want to keep the buzz and the positivity, and you know, we want to celebrate this fantastic club as it is at the moment. With, you know, all things Danny Rule, and we want to be together when it comes to, any sort of intervention should Danny Rule decide that he's not going to be around when it comes to mid-July. So keep your eye on the socials, keep your eye on Facebook, Instagram, X, you know, everything else, all the usual ways that you'll catch us. Plenty of updates. We are keeping going. There'll be a little bit of movement here and there, but you know, the Wednesday week ain't going away.
Oof. Yeah, last one from me is I just want to say a massive thank you. The first thank you is to you guys. So Holly, Simon, Stevie, Dan, Blair, John, and Charlie. It's been fantastic season, ups and downs. Enjoyed every minute of it. The next one is to all you guys. At the minute, there's 885 people watching at the minute. So everyone who's watched, who's interacted, who's commented, anyone who's Facebooked all the rubbish that I tweet out and put on Facebook, it's much appreciated. Really appreciate it. And everyone who's donated eggs, mate, anyone who's donated an egg, thank you. Who's donated money, who's donated anything for our community fund. We've, I think, for a start off first season, I think we've done fantastic. 679 eggs. I think 60 tickets. I think we've donated. Countless shirts, countless goodie bags as well. Scarves, everything, anything that we get in terms of any sort of money goes straight out to that. And we love it. It's been fantastic, and it really is great to put it back. So thank you. And the biggest thank you, Danny Rule. Thank you, my man. That's my biggest thank you. Players, staff, everyone, the club, fantastic. And we are staying around, like Stevie says. So this is the end of probably the regular show, but there's going to be loads of when Dan comes back and takes the helm, because I'm not very good at it. So we love you all. Thank you very much. And we will see you real soon.